Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Nurses Out Loud. I'm your host, Nurse Jody O'Malley, and I wanted to bring in a special guest, a special friend of mine who spoke with the members of my Truth Movement. So, the Truth Movement is a private membership community where I engage with you guys on a regular basis, a couple of times a month. And I also bring in amazing speakers and experts on a variety of different topics that all tackle increasing your confidence so that you have the courage to walk in your calling. And since so many of you have reached out and told me about family or friends you no longer have, people are striving for community, and this is exactly what it was. Well, I reached out to my friend Tim James of Chemical Free Body. Tim and I met, probably a little over 6 months ago when I was going to bring him on the show, but then he wound up coaching me and being my health coach. And the changes that I have made have just been amazing and life changing. And I'm starting to see it in my physical appearance, which is awesome. Well, I reached out to him to speak to the members of the Truth Movement. And just like the person that he is, the generous soul with pure intentions of helping to heal people, he offered to create a 3-month workshop. And we just had the first meeting last week. And this one was on how and why to value your life and your suffering with this perspective. And wow, it just was so powerful and resonated with so many people. His approach is like none other. I think you are going to be blown away. We're going to talk about personal experiences that he and I both share with our family members and what I'm seeing in the hospital. And so, yeah, let's get started. Thank you, Tim, for being here.
Jody, it is my pleasure. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so thankful for the listeners that are tuning in because I know they're tuning in to connect with you and the other nurses on this show, and you guys have created something really special here. So I want to do my best to give them some tools they can go home with and start implementing immediately to improve their lives.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I didn't tell you this, but I'll tell you now. Melissa Schreibfeder is one of the new hosts on Nurses Out Loud. So,
Oh,
yeah,
what a great fit.
I know. I'm so excited. Yeah, she's amazing. So, yeah, Tim, yeah, let's get started.
Cool, cool. Well, what do you want to talk about?
I would think let's talk about um let's talk about recently, well, what you and I are both have gone through with our family members. I know you helped me a lot with my dad, who came into town about 6 months ago, and
Hmm.
just seeing my father, who was absolutely just suffering. His health had just deteriorated so much from the prior 6 months that I had seen him. And it was the anxiety and the stress and really trying to help him go through. Remember, I told you he had 27 different meds he was taking in the morning.
That's
And
so many.
oh my gosh. Yes, it was. And you had told me, reminded me to lead with love, to lead with love. And when I talked to him, I was to respond from the heart, not from the head. And that was very powerful. So let's talk about that little tidbit, because I know a lot of people, it's really hard to, see people that you love, that are close to you, that, that are slowly dying, and you want to help them, but you're not sure how to get your message across to them.
Yeah. Well, I guess, we're all slowly dying. The difference is the quality of our life while we're here
Yeah.
and those experiences and our ability to do what we want to do when we need to do it, especially physically. Also, I mean, physically, I'm talking about movement in the body.
Mhm.
You don't even, when you're younger, you don't think too much about it. Where if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, you just go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh, I'm gonna go make some lunch. You just go make lunch. Or I'm gonna crawl in and out of bed. Okay, or go up and down stairs. You don't think much about that until you're in so much pain, going to the bathroom where you actually need help,
Right.
And recently I was helping my mom to the bathroom, up and down stairs, getting in and out of bed, changing clothes.
Hmm.
They call it transferring, moving from one place to the next, just getting out of bed to go to the front room and sit down, having to have oxygen machine on you
Yep.
the whole time.
Yep.
And then having 15 to 30 minutes to recover just from going from the bedroom to the front room to sit down. 15 to
Yes.
30 minutes to recover. It's like, what? So, for me, I was on that path, that same path. I grew up on the standard American diet. I was eating tons of processed foods, a lot of cooked foods. And then I didn't know anything about like the over farming practices and how they pretty much raped the soil. So there was no nutrients in the soil anymore. So we're all deficient. And so, I was tumbling down. I mean, the listeners I've been on before know, but for the new ones, I was basically 37 years old, 42 pounds overweight, business professional, financial advisor, skin issues all over my elbows, my knees, eczema. I was bleeding rectally. I had to have emergency surgery and be life flighted to get to save my life, and that's where Western medicine does still shine. And my health was a mess, mental fog, all this stuff.
Hmm.
And so, if I wouldn't have gotten this information, basically, a friend of mine got cancer. We went to a detox nutrition clinic, and I got just it was like a fire hose of information of what I should have learned growing up as a child from my parents and from society, but it was
Yeah.
not there at all. Um, Plus I started feeling better. Like when I was there, I mean, I transformed in, a couple weeks, and I was just like, I came home and a couple months later, I literally transformed. I lost all the weight. My mental clarity was back. The energy was back. I had to start buying smaller clothes and all this stuff.
Hmm.
And then, for me, Jody, it was like, now I've been on this pursuit for 13 years. Is like, what else do I not know? What else have I been lied to about?
Yep.
And I just kept learning stuff, and I keep getting healthier and healthier. I literally left financial advising to become a health advisor. I'm like a general contractor of health. I help people in their wherever they're at assemble their team and
Mm.
know how to pick the right people to put them around it. So for people in crisis mode, or people that are biohackers that want to, or high level athletes that want to do that, that's what I've been doing. I'm really good at being that general contractor, and I know how to put a team together in your area. And even some people like myself are remote, to do that. And so I have all this amazing skill set that I've developed, not only just for my own self, that's how I started,
Yeah.
but personally coaching 700 people, you being one of them.
Hmm.
And then now here I am, where my mom and dad, um, you know, um, s- spent their whole life on the standard American diet stuff, and their health was failing. Now, my mother, had come back from poor health when my father got cancer, and they did surgery on the side of his head. And then when she took the bandage off, she saw this Frankenstein, metal staples all the way through his head,
Oh,
and her knees buckled. And I literally caught her, and I set her
wow.
down, and I was like, don't worry, mom, I'll take care of it. It wasn't like I wanted to bandage my dad's wound, but she wasn't going to be able to do it. She
Mm.
doesn't like doing that stuff, but she will do it. And my dad's like, no, let your mother do it. And I'm like, she can't even
Sounds like my
stand over
dad.
here, dude. Like, yeah, yeah, he didn't want me to do it, but I did it.
Yeah.
And so the next day she came up to me, and I was already full tilt into this lifestyle. In fact, I was fanatical about it, which I don't recommend people to do now. I was driving away friends because I just became such I was so fanatical about it.
Right. Well,
Remember my
we spent time at Mountains of Hope together with Benjamin.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't consider myself fanatical. I just like, this is the way it is. I really don't care what anybody does because
Right.
it's your choice.
Yeah.
You can totally choose. I'm just showing people like, this is where I was, this is what I've done, this is what worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you too. And
Yeah.
you can try it. And usually the stuff that I share pretty much works for a majority of people. There are some people it won't, and then they just don't do that part and do something else,
Yeah.
and keep trying. So my mom, she comes up to me the next day, and then she's like, I'm gonna do this." I'm like, what are you talking about? Do what? She's like, I'm all the health stuff you're doing. I'm gonna do it. And I was looking at her like, what? Is this a joke? Are you teasing me? I was like, she's no, I'm gonna do this, and she did. But what I found out 2.5 years later was that she didn't do it for herself. She did it for my dad because she realized how mortal he was when he had that huge cancer that was removed off his head. That he could not be around very much longer. So she was doing it to inspire him to try to get him to do it. And after two
Oh,
and a half years of making the green juice every day and changing her diet and eating healthier, fresh foods, and I mean, I'm telling you, this woman transformed. In her
okay.
70s, all of a sudden, we lived on a kind of a slope, a hill in a neighborhood down in Portland when I moved away from Eastern Oregon, which I'm back now, thank God. And we're on a slight slope. And a plum, we were outside a plum because me and the kids were up there trying to get these plums off those plum trees. And a plum fell down. It was just slowly kind of rolling down the sidewalk. My mom took off like a dart and grabbed it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive for
Oh,
a guy. I mean, she
wow.
became this very agile person and she regained her health. Well, after 2.5 years, one day she's like, that's it, I've had it. And my dad's like, what's wrong? She goes, I've been making this juice every day and growing this wheatgrass and doing these shots. And she goes, I did it for you and you won't do it. So I'm giving up. And he's like, oh, okay, okay. I'll drink it. And then he drank it for a little bit for about 6 months and that kind of trailed off and then went back. So she got frustrated. Both their health finally declined again. And
Mhm.
then she became his caretaker and ended up wearing herself out. Okay. And I
That's a
knew,
big
and
problem.
she became a statistic. And I knew that the caretakers of the spouse usually end up dying prior to the spouse. And there's no way in my mind, with my dad's poor health habits and all that stuff, that he would outlast my mom. There's no way,
Yeah.
right? This ain't happening. But she ends up wearing herself out, and then, she was completely, up to date on her jabs and all that stuff through the whole COVID thing. And I'm just like, oh my God, both of them. And they, wore masks and stuff because they didn't want to hurt people, right? They were good,
Mhm.
decent people, and they were doing what they were told on the TV and their doctors, and they were just the nurses and stuff. So they were just they're good people. I mean, they don't
Right.
want to hurt anybody. They're good people. And so I didn't know if it was turbo cancer or whatever, but all of a sudden we went in. She fell last May, was doing great, coming back. The physical therapist was amazing that came out here. And I started assembling her team, right? And then she was in pain, and we thought she had 5 ribs that were out. They got 4 of them back in, and then one of them wasn't. And she's like, Tim, you need to go get a CT scan on your mom. I'm concerned. And so I saw a little inflammation in that area on her back. I'm like, okay. So we took her in, and she's got cancer everywhere. T6, T12 in her spine. It's in her hip. It's in her ribs, pelvic. I mean, it's
Wow.
around her heart. It's around her lungs. The only thing it wasn't in was her digestive tract, which is amazing. So at least we could still eat food and do that. And so she rapidly started declining. And then I asked her, "What do you want to do?" And then, after an ER visit, I finally broke down on her lap, and we had our friend there, and she's like, "Well, reality's finally hitting him, you know." And
Mm.
I'm crying my eyes out because the doctor's like, this you have cancer everywhere. This is probably going to take your life. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. And so
Yeah.
I've all these years, 13 years of educate, not just reading stuff, but actually learning and applying it. And I try pretty much anything that makes any kind of sense on my body and things I've done, therapies I've done, the things I've eaten, drank, rectal insufflations. I mean, I'll do anything. Coffee enemas. You talk about wheatgrass enemas, colon hydrotherapy, whatever will work and make sense to give me a healthier, higher quality of life. I'm doing it. Okay, I'm doing it. And I for 13 years have been on. I do the best I can to take care of myself, and I think you can attest to that. I'm a 50-year-old man.
Yeah.
You saw what shape I was in
Hmm.
at the deal, and I just went trail running with my sons. You couldn't even keep up with me. He's 23. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm 50, and I'm very happy about that. But, and I want to lead by example for my children.
Yeah. I mean, you
But,
can easily pass for in your 30s for sure. For
all
sure.
right. So I feel like over the last 13 years, my point is not to boast about my health because
Yep.
I'm kind of what we should be. Okay. And in fact, if we had just pure nature going, I'd probably be kind of the sick one in the bunch. Right. Right. But it's
Yeah.
flip flopped. Right. So I have all these skill sets now. And, and it's like Mom, what do you want me to do? And she's like, what do you, I mean, we can do surgery. They want to push surgery. They want to push chemotherapy. At your age, I don't think it's the greatest thing. I think your quality of life is more important. But you can do that. It's a valid choice. You can do nothing. You can do
Yeah.
totally nothing. Just keep doing what you're doing and ride it out. Or we can do it, change a little bit, or we can change everything. It just depends on what you do. And I said, I'm going to support you 100% no matter what you choose. She goes, you're my doctor. Let's go. And I'll do everything you say. And I'm like, okay. So now she's back on the bandwagon. I'm pumped and excited, but it's so far along. I mean, she's literally, I mean, it's in the bone, right? It's
Yeah.
metastasized into her bone in multiple places. I think towards the end, she started getting like headaches and she would throw up. She couldn't even hardly eat anything. Just getting up to go to the bathroom and setting down, she'd throw up. So we had to time all this stuff and
I
put her
just
on.
want to stop there real quick, Tim, because I think it's kind of important to talk about. Here she gets diagnosed in the ER. They see like, hey, on your scan, like we see cancer everywhere.
Yeah.
And was it like another follow-up appointment that a doctor even suggested chemo or radiation?
No, we had already, because what happened was when she went in for that recommendation from the therapist, they only scanned her upper thoracic because that's where the problem was.
Okay.
And so they said it looks like there's something in her spine, looks like it could be cancer. It was a very small scan. We went to the ER, or we went to the oncologist. He was the one that said we should do, based on this, it's probably cancer, but we need to do biopsies and blah, 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 blah. And we were like, well, biopsy is just going to spread it even more. So just probably just deal with it. She's going to get healthy anyway. That's what her plan is. And so, and then, one night we had to go back into the ER and they did a full scan. And that's when it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we were going full tilt on this thing. And it's like, I felt like I have these superpowers, these that I built up, but it was just too late for her. And my dad, he doesn't want to hear nothing about it, right? So he's got cancer right now. I mean, he's had it on and off for years and just keeps getting chunks of him hacked off. And it's no big deal, just cut it out.
Yeah.
And but his quality of life is terrible. He can hardly get it. And I just got a text from my aunt. So my dad just fell. And he fell 3 times within 3 weeks, and he's bleeding all over the place and bandages. And then, that's extra work on my part taking. So I've taken care of both of them. So, and I've over for years been telling people, if you're a hospice worker, man, my heart goes out to you, because my mom took care of my aunt during her cancer and her hospice days, and she had that chemo brain thing, and it was hard on my mom, and she took
Mhm.
care of my dad. And my mom's, I didn't realize how remarkable like she was until the memorial, and it all sunk in. I'm like, God, I was raised by a freaking superwoman. Like,
Mhm.
these people would come up, and all these people are getting up and talking about her and stuff like that. And the neighbor lady was like, she felt safe because my mom said, we got our eyes on you. We got our eyes on you, Sherry. You don't worry about it. You need anything, we're right here for you. And so I took care of my mom, and and then my aunt had come out to stay with us, just to spend some time with us. Brought my cousin Scott, who's like 60, and my aunt's 79. My mom's 84. And we're just sitting at the table. My mom had her lunch, and then she says, I want to get up and go over to the chair. And all of us, she sat down in the chair, and, it's like, oh, it was hard on her, right? Like transporting what we were talking about earlier. But all of a sudden, I was like, man, she doesn't look good. And I put the little thing on her finger, the pulse oximeter or whatever it's called. And all of a sudden, oxygen's supposed to be, at least over 90.
Yeah.
And it was 40.
Oh, wow.
And then her heart rate was 40. And I'm like, that ain't good. And so I called 911 immediately. By the time they got there, I mean, she was like, is the ambulance coming? And she's just fighting for air, and you could see the anxiety. So I went and got the other oxygen machine. I had it up her nose and the other one in her mouth, and I'm holding it there, trying to get as much oxygen into her till they get there. And they got there, and they're like, "What do you want to do?" And it was funny because they're like, "Marlene, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Shit, no, she's not okay. Like, help her." But that's the thing they have to go through. I learned afterwards, because
Yeah.
I'm like, "Save my mom," and I'm like, I
Yeah.
usually don't freak out. I'm pretty steady. I'm like Cool Hand Luke in these situations, and I think I did a pretty good job. And finally they were like, "Well, we can give her an IV," but I could see her slipping, and all of a sudden she was kind of like stroking out or having a heart attack, and then they said, "Well, I was like, can you do anything? They're like, well, they said we can put some IVs on her and try to revive her, or, put her in the thing and take her in the hospital. And I said, okay, let's do that. And they were starting to get all that ready, and I was just hugging my mom, and she took a breath, and then it was a while later, and then she took another breath, and then they started to do that, and then I realized that she was dying, and I finally had to let go. And that
Mm.
was hard. It was an interesting experience. And the last second, I turned around and said, "Can we just wait a moment? We just wait a minute." And then I hugged my mom, and I was hugging her and talking to her into her ear, and then telling her how much I loved her, and everything's gonna be good. And then she took a breath, and then I didn't hear a breath for quite some time, and then she took one more breath, and then that was it. And then she was gone. And later the EMT came over to me, and he said, "You made the right choice." He goes, "We probably wouldn't even made it to the ambulance with her, and it's best for her just to die in the comfort of her own chair in her own home with her family around." They were all just standing. There's like 6 or 7 EMT. We had quite a group because we're right in the middle of two towns, so I think they both showed up,
Yeah.
and we had a bunch of people there. And I brought my dad over, and I said, "Dad, it's probably a good time to say goodbye," and it's that was it's just it's we talked about that last time. It's like when children are born and when
Mhm.
people die is when it's pure. It's like nobody's trying to lie or cheat or do any weird stuff at that point.
Yeah.
It's just you can tap into the vibrational frequency of what it means to be a human being. And it's unconditional love. We were talking about that earlier. I was talking about, when you said, I was sharing with you how do you approach your father? You
Yeah.
approach him with your heart. You approach him with love. You got to get out of your head because it's not serving you or them. And it's literally, if you're dealing with somebody like that and you're not using your heart, it's going to make you sick, literally, physically.
Literally. Yeah.
You will chemically start producing hormones and chemicals in your body that will literally make you sick
Yep.
and destroy your life. So if that's not a form of self-love. So if you want to self-loving yourself is loving other people, and it's being unconditional love from your heart, your soul. It's just that's the solution to all of our problems out there. All this stuff will go away, all this chaos and the Gaza Strip and blah 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 and the stupid elections and all this stuff. I mean, this is all it's all fear-based. And so if I even smell fear, I realize that I'm like, why? Why is that there? Why is it's not that's not the solution. Somebody's thinking with their head and they're
Yeah.
not thinking with their heart because we're all connected. And I know all these working class people around the world. I've been all over the world. They're just good, hardworking people. They want to raise their kids, go on vacation, save up a little money, have a nice life, have a pleasant life. And so these moments, like it was profound for me. And I felt like and then I let my dad, I said, "Hey dad, why don't you just spend some time alone?" I cleared everybody out and I just let him spend, 15, 20, 30 minutes with his wife. Kind of kept peeking through the window and checking on him. And it was this super powerful, endearing moment just to be able to see him. But it was also sad to watch him because I know what's going through his head. And it probably doesn't have the skill set spiritually that I've developed I've been since 2011 when I kind of changed really in 2018. Because 10 years ago, if this would have happened, I would have fell apart
Yeah.
completely.
Hmm.
And I mean, I still was crying my face off and stuff like that. But it was an amazing, amazing moment. And so I guess this might be a good time to pause because the reality, and then we talk about solutions so that, number one, you don't have to go through this, hopefully, ever have to deal with cancer yourself. And I know some of you listening might have had to have cancer right now. I know statistically over a third of you do, or you're taking care of somebody that does. Hopefully, we can get you some information so you can revitalize your health and maybe you can save yourself. The other thing is that if you don't have cancer now, let's not get it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's not get cancer. Let's not get heart disease. Let's not get COPD. Let's not get diabetes. Let's not get all these side effects from a poor lifestyle. Because the reality is lifestyle is the fundamental key. Your environment and your lifestyle. Because the environment is part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Let's get you healthy so that you don't have to, you know, be a burden to your children. I mean, because it was, even though I went through the process and I grew and I learned from it, it was very hard on me. And I'm real healthy and I know how to take care of myself.
Hmm.
But my mom didn't want to let me go. She's like, "Oh, you're going to bed." And I'm like, "Yeah, mom, I got to get some sleep." And she just wanted to look at me, you know?
Right.
And that kind of made me feel bad and stuff like that. So I don't want to do that to my kids. I don't want to be a burden. It's going to happen statistically. Certain things are going to happen. You know, people get in accidents. You got to take care of them. It should be a very small percentage of what's going on, not everywhere, with almost everybody in every family dealing with this stuff.
That's right.
Totally, totally, we can totally turn it around
Yeah.
when we take responsibility and start loving ourselves.
Yeah, and actually live, not just exist. It's like I have someone very close to me that, talking about how they're not feeling well, and then they got a CT scan, and then they come over and talk to me. Okay, well, I got this result, that result, blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah, and then the doctor wanted to put me on metoprolol and this and that, blah blah blah, and I just like literally, I mean, there's a part of me that obviously it's like, this sucks. This sucks. But I have heard this on and off for many, many years. And now it's like we're at the age where these things are starting to come up, where people are starting to feel like, oh, well, I'm just at that age. I'm just at that age that these things happen. And it's like, yeah, no, you're not just at the age. It's because of your lifestyle that has brought you here. So I literally just looked at her and I said, let me ask you, how scared are you? And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, you had something going on with you. You thought enough to make a doctor's appointment. That doctor gave you a CT scan. Now you're over here reading me the results. How scared are you? Well, I think, I probably should get on this medication. I said, yes, you can start that path. You can certainly start the path of doctor's appointments and, this medication to prevent this side effect from that medication and this medication that's coming on. And now you're going to add another one on because your joints are going to start to hurt. Yeah, you can go down that road. Or you can look at your life and say, I'm going to start there. I'm going to start there. I'm going to start looking at my lifestyle. I'm going to start looking at my schedule. I'm going to start looking at my routine. And I'm going to say no to big pharma and I'm going to say yes to me.
Well, you know,
And
the tough thing, Jody, is that we're in our worlds. And I have to say that I got very lucky because I got on a plane and I flew clear across the United States to Florida to a clinic, and I was locked in utopia basically, and it was 40 hours of education. So I was able to not only get the education but
mhm,
feel the changes in my body, and then it was like I became invincible because I already knew. I didn't care what anybody told me. I knew this stuff worked. I
right,
felt like I was 18 again.
right.
You know, I dropped 11 pounds in the first 7 days. And I'm like, I feel great. My mental clarity's back. I told Charles, I'm like, I feel like we discovered the fountain of youth. Oh my God, this is
Yeah,
what everybody wants.
right.
And we came back and we changed our freaking lifestyles.
Yeah.
And
But then you also have the people that are always, what's the pill? Where's the magic pill? Those people that spend the time researching for, I'm going to start this, I'm going to start that, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, but they never look into things that they actually have control over. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
anyway, I don't,
Anyway,
are we close
yeah,
to your break?
we're gonna go to break. Guys, thank you for listening to Nurses Out Loud and this show with my amazing health coach Tim James. I really hope that this speaks to you and just makes you pause and have some thought into what we just said and what we're going to talk to you about, because we certainly only get one chance at this world. You know what I mean? And what choices are we going to make? We all have choices, guys. We all do. Check out americaoutloud.shop for our family of sponsors and exclusive discounts available to only you, our lovely talk radio listeners. And we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me on Nurses Out Loud with Tim James. If you guys are interested in seeing his products and then the products that I'm on, and we can briefly talk about that as well, go to chemicalfreebody.com and check out Jane. You know what? Let's just talk about it real quick. Your products and the high grade they are, because they really did transform my energy levels.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We were talking about, people getting on pills and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
And so when I learned about detoxing and nutrition, I was like, that's it, dude. I'm going back to nature. I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm not doing any of them pills and that stuff. And for some reason, I was like, yeah, supplements, I don't want them. And it was probably a good thing because 95 plus 98% of them have toxic chemicals in them today. Okay. 91% of them are pure chemicals. So when I got back home, then I
Wow.
started realizing about the degradation of the soil and that we have to replace it because if it's not in the soil, it's not going to be in the plants or the animals that ate the plants. And so we're deficient. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then I started bumping into people that were super healthy. And I mean, some of these people, Jody, are literally taking 25 to 100 supplements a day. But I'm telling you, like some of these people are like unbelievably healthy. They were just replacing again what was missing, and they were also taking other things to get the pollution and the crap out of their body that's constantly coming in through the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the clothing we wear, this personal care products we put on our skin, blah 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 blah. It's all over the place, and it's like, whoa, it's kind of scary. And so when I started Chemical Free Body, we brought on a doctor, a formulator who was actually healthy in his 70s. And so we're very fortunate because I am a stickler
Yep.
for, and like, it's like,
I
I
know.
ain't, I ain't doing it. Okay. And so I work so hard on my body because I remember back because I get to talk all the time and I get to rehash old Tim, the other version of Tim that wasn't so healthy, that was living in fear, that was his universe was shrinking and his belly was growing and so are all these skin issues. And so I started researching products and then I would share them with my coaching clients, students. And then eventually I found out these companies would get bought out and they would change the name. So
Yep.
just as an overview, like you guys can do this. You can whatever companies you have right now, I'll give you some tips and stuff, but type in who purchased in your browser, who purchased, and then put in the name of that company. And if it was bought by Procter and Gamble or Nestle or Johnson or whatever, one of these big companies, you might want to check second. Yeah, I'm just telling you, it's like it's buyer beware. Okay, I'm not gonna
Yep.
say anything else. And because they just start slipping stuff in, and then like people don't even know that reading labels is very important. Like my shirt, if you can't see it, it says ingredients matter because they do. What you put in your body matters. The type of gasoline you put into your car matters. If there's water in the gasoline, would you put it into your car, knowing that's going to screw up your engine? No, but why are we doing it with our food and with things we drink?
Yeah.
It's just the way society is. Everybody's doing it. And it's, and then you get older. You're just getting older. No, you've been
Yep.
putting crappy fuel in your body and you're polluted and you're stressed out because you're in a relationship that doesn't work. You're going to a job you don't like. It's like these are the reasons why we're dying younger. Our children are now dying younger than us on that
Mhm.
life expectancy chart.
Yeah.
Okay. So we, with Dr. Treadway's help, he was able to formulate products based on 10,000 years of biological engineering system science. This is traditional Ayurvedic medicine. 10,000 years of figuring out what doesn't work based on engineering principles in biology. So they already kind of know what works and what herb works on this and does that in the body. So it was kind of his genius, and we piggybacked off of his 41 years of sourcing the quality raw materials. This is just as important. You can have a great formula, but it's only as good as the raw materials that go into it. So
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons why our stuff works. Our silver products, Dr. Keith Muller's dad, and it was actually an accident when they invented these very safe nano silver products like the gel and the one you take. So those are the things we do. We look for things that work, that are based on they're herbal and food based, very concentrated, that are sun dried and air dried under 110 degrees over a 1 to 2 day period, very slow, very expensive. And then those high quality electric, like high vibe life force materials are then put into these formulas that are based on these 10,000 years of biological system science. And then we have the new modern science, like if I find something that works, like the nano silver line. So that's the kind of level of stuff, and I will not compromise because I'm pretty much taking all this stuff myself, like all of it.
Yeah.
All the products that we have, the only one I don't take is like weightless, that weight loss product.
Yeah.
But I take a form of it, the gut detox product, which is the main ingredient in weightless. I take that on the daily. I do that one 6 days a week. So if anybody listening is interested in trying out our products, we make it really easy to do that. Number one, we have a double your money back guarantee on our products. I know they're going to work for 95 to 98% of you up the middle. You're never going to have 100% on anything because everybody's different,
Yeah.
right? But based on the majority in that bell curve, we know these are going to work because of high quality and the way they're formulated. The second thing is I actually can show you guys how to get a double discount. So when you go to our store at chemicalfreebody.com, you can go to bundle specials. Those are all discounted. And you could start off with like a jumpstart bundle and just kind of stick your toes in the water. You could do the total energy and detox bundle, or just pick one of the bundles that resonates with you and your checkbook. And then at checkout, put in the code JODI, JODI, and you'll get a double discount. So it's a double discount, double your money back guarantee. And if you ever have any questions, if a product didn't work for you, send us an email to support@chemicalfreebody.com or reach out to us. You can call us, and myself or another coach will get on the phone and we'll help you, or one of our customer service agents will help you. We'll even send you to other companies to buy stuff. It's not
Yeah.
a big deal for us. Like, we know how to read labels. We are here to help. Period. We
Period.
just have we
Period.
have we have a toolkit, and part of that toolkit that we share in our coaching happens to be our product line. But there's other companies out there that are making some pretty cool stuff, and we're going to refer you to them. And so we're going to help you, like I said, be a general contractor for you and help you get through this stuff and wade through this sea of really good marketing. There's
Yeah.
some really good marketing out there. And so anyway,
Lots of money behind it. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe we can now talk about like um, how we should value our lives. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'll tell you, I want to share this quick story. I was in discharging a patient, and she wasn't my patient. She was another nurse's on the floor, but we always help each other out. So I didn't know a whole lot about her. I just could go through the discharge sheet, and I look and I said, "All right, did the doctor talk to you?" Yes. Okay, what did he say? He said that he was going to give me a medication for my heartburn, and I can't remember what else. And I said, okay, well, you got diagnosed with a hiatal hernia. Looks like it was an incidental finding. If it's not giving you any issues, don't worry about it. Um, and then he's given you also omeprazole, to help lower the acid in your stomach. And then there was another pill that he was giving her. Forget exactly what it was off the top of my head, but I said, okay, but we can also start with diet too, right? I said, you're being prescribed these pills, but there are other things that you can do as well. So I would suggest, like, looking into alternative things, because you tell me that you're not on any medications right now. And she said, no, I'm not. I said, well, for example, you can start having some honey, lemon, apple cider vinegar, hot tea in the morning. Maybe that'll help you with your blood sugar and acid reflux. And I said, but you know what, hon? I said, stay off the sugar. Start there. Start with the sugar. And then the son, he steps up and he goes, see, I told you. I told you, mom. I said, yeah, really just like watch your processed food, don't have
Mm-hmm.
so many carbs with your meal. Watch the sugar, really start there. And once you detox off of the sugar, it's like your clarity comes back. And anyway, the guy who was 50, but he actually looked like he was 35. The mom actually looked pretty good too, her skin, but she had said, he's like, this is what I've been telling you. Thank you. Thank you for saying something. I have been with her for so many doctors, and nobody talks about diet. He said, you're literally in my mind right now saying every single thing that I've already said to my mom. And I said, I'm going to give you some advice that my coach told me. You see, you don't know
Mm-hmm.
how much you've done, Tim, because I said,
That's so cool.
listen, we cannot change the people we love. I said, we cannot do that. We can lead by example. I said, and every time that you want to talk to your mom, stop talking with your head, start leading with your heart. She's going to make the choices that she wants to make. and so are you. And he's like, I know, but I'm telling you, he's like, Mom, I'm so tired of going to the doctor with you now. And I said, you know what? You have a very valid point. And I looked at the mom and I said, and I gave her an example with my dad that, I won't get into it now,
Yeah.
but, I said, we don't want to have to do that. I said, if you guys are just, I said, I'm a grandparent. I have adult children. I said, I don't want my children to have to think that I'm going to be a burden on them for things that I can control. I said, going to doctor's office and getting a new script and talking about your side effects. I said, don't make that your life. I see that that's my dad's life,
Oh, it's
and
horrible.
it's
It's horrible.
horrible. And so
Blood test
anyway,
every week, then you got to
yeah,
go the hearing aid test, and then you got to go get the dermatologist. It's all these appointments, and then we have to leave our work or leave our family to do this, and there's the emergency room visits. It's all most of this
yep,
is unnecessary. It's all
it really
choices.
truly is. And if you're not starting with things that you can control and really wanting to live a life. So yeah, let's talk about, give people a little taste of what you shared with the movement, because really was very powerful.
So the first class was called how and why to value your life and to end your suffering with this perspective. So the first thing is getting clarity on what you are. And what you are is nature. Okay? If you're looking at the physical being, okay, you're made in this physical planet, you have a physical body. The physicality of you is nature. I will prove it to you unequivocally. What is your body mostly made of, Jody?
Water,
Where do you find that?
lakes, ponds, rivers, streams.
Okay, it's in nature. Your
Yep.
bones are made of what?
Calcium,
Minerals, right? And where do you find minerals? Well,
nature.
if they have been over farmed, these big mega farms, then you would find them in the dirt, in the soil. So you're in your gut and in your mouth, there's bacterium called your gut microbiome or your oral microbiome. These bacterium in your gut are the same ones that are again supposed to be in the soil. And we
Mm.
mentioned this last time. There was that college, forget what their name was, but in 1964 they took all the microbiome out of 1 acre of soil and weighed it, 2,000 pounds, 1 ton. 40 years later, 2004, did it again, 1 acre of soil. Guess how many pounds of beneficial bacteria they had in that soil? 100 pounds, and some of those were genetically modified.
Wow.
So the point is that our soils are again super deep. And if there's no bacteria in the soil to transport the nutrients into the root system of the plant, that's a major problem. The fulvics and humics have been destroyed as well. But that's another topic. But the point is the same bacterium that should be in the soil are the same ones in your gut. You have about 60 trillion bacterial cells in the body, only 6 trillion human cells. You're more bacteria, and viruses, there's like 360 trillion. So you're more virus by count and bacterium cells than human cells. Think about that. So you have this ecological diversity going on inside of your body with all these different types of cells. Bacterium and certain viruses in human cells work together like ants and aphids.
Yeah.
It's a symbiotic relationship. Okay. So, very clear. You're made of water, minerals, and bacterium, viruses. Okay, you're from Earth. Okay. Now, the cool thing, I was tripping out when I realized this. The Earth is a living being. And when you pan away from the Earth, all of a sudden the rivers will start looking like streams, look like veins and capillaries. And the clouds that float around on the earth are like the irises of the eyes, controlling the temperature, keeping it perfect to keep life here. The earth is a living being. Okay, and we are connected directly to the earth, just like a tree or an ant. We're without it, I mean, this is our mothership, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
the earth, cool thing is the earth is connected to the solar system. The solar system is connected to the galaxy, and the galaxy to the universe. And now we're talking about multiverse. So we'll just stay at the universe. So literally, the power of the universe is inside of you because it's all connected. There is no separation from this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That blew my mind, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then here's the other one. God doesn't make mistakes. Creation does not make mistakes. So unless you're like, oh yeah, God was goofing around and I would whoops, oh, made Jody and Tim. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think so. So,
Yeah.
and if you're a God-fearing person and God is all powerful, how could God possibly make a mistake? For those of you that are following that religion, you're probably laughing, thinking, "Yeah, God makes no mistakes." It's pretty clear God makes no mistakes. So, if you exist, then you are not a mistake. This is one of the key things to understand how valuable you are. So, if God took the time and effort to make you,
Hmm.
what are you doing with your life? How are you treating yourself? Are you talking to yourself and giving yourself bad thoughts all the time? "Well, I'm a loser. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have ate that. Oh my God, she doesn't love me. He doesn't love me." Blah, 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 all this negative self-talk. In fact, most people, most of my coaching students, and you're one of them, know that one of my main goals is to give awareness to self-talk,
Yeah.
verbal and nonverbal, because most of us are the way we talk to ourselves, we would either slap somebody or they would definitely not be in our lives. We would move away from them.
Hmm.
But we're talking to ourselves like this. The way we talk to ourselves is so degrading. So the first thing is having awareness to that self-talk and understanding that, wow, I've been given a gift. The gift is this physical body that I get to tune into and I get to do things with and love and create and contribute and do all this stuff. So creation doesn't make mistakes. You exist, and in some form, you always will. Now, this body, you will discard this body at one point in time, just like my mother did a couple Mondays ago. But you're an eternal being. And so, if you're an eternal being and you have the power of the universe inside of you and God created you, what what are we worried about all this other BS that doesn't matter? And why do we even care what anybody else thinks, even our own family? This is
Yep.
our life. What the heck does it matter what your wife or your husband or your grandma or these, they have nothing to do with your life. Your life is your life. This is your life. You need to do what you need to do. There's a plan that God had for you, and that's what you should be following.
Right.
And don't worry about all these other people. They got their own life. Now we're all connected and all that stuff, and there's room for compassion and all these things. Let them do whatever they're gonna do. Like you were talking about the gal and the son,
Hmm.
giving him some instructions. Say, you lead by example. He was just so refreshed because he's tired of going to the doctors all the points because he knows there's a better option. But
Right.
his mom she has a different belief system. She's relying on somebody else to solve her problems. She's relying on somebody else to take care of her health. When the reality is the only person that's really going to take care of her health is her. She's the only one that has power. And if you go to anybody and they say, "I'm going to heal you, I'm going to cure you," eh, probably not the person you want to deal with. Because
Yeah.
the only person I've noticed is that can heal you or cure is yourself. I healed myself, and I've watched other people heal themselves. Now I've guided people and helped them, but at the end of the day, I'm not the one putting certain things in their mouth or
Hmm.
plugging in a toxic air freshener versus doing essential oils. It's the little shifts, it's the little tweaks, right? The
Yep.
person, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, so how and why to value your life? So why you should value it is because, again, to recap, God doesn't make mistakes. Creation does not make mistakes. So if you're here for a reason. And so that's for you to uncover. And I'm telling you that under everything is your unconditional love. That's what you are. Period.
Yep.
That's it. And again, it will come out when children are born and people die and other certain moments. And so, how can you get into that vibrational frequency in between those two times and live a heart centered life? So, how do you do that? Well, again, like we took some steps, right, Jody? So
Yeah.
we created some sacred time. When you wake up, the first hour, and when you go to bed, the last hour, that's your time. That's your time. Drinking a glass of water in the morning rather than having coffee. That's demonstrating to the universe, to God, that you love yourself a little bit more, right? Now, if you're going to have your coffee, we've learned to wait at least 90 minutes after you wake up before you do that. And then there's other things you can do. And we want to make sure if people are going to do coffee, as an example, they do a shade grown coffee that's non acidic. And then you want to buffer it with L-theanine. You put those drops in there so it's not destroying your myelin sheath, of your nerve endings and all this stuff and making you go, hey, wonky. Or have things like matcha or green tea that are buffered with L-theanine that hasn't been stripped out, and make sure that coffee wasn't grown in chemicals, right? So it's you. That's where the coaching part comes in. right?
Hmm.
It's that little, oh, I didn't know that. Oh. It's like, yeah, you can still have some coffee, but if you're going to do it, you want a really good one, L-theanine, and don't do it for 90 minutes. First thing you'd want to do is drink water. I'm just randomly giving some stuff here. But
Yeah.
because coffee's kind of a big thing for people. And I don't tell
It's a,
people don't drink coffee. I just say if you're going to do it, I would recommend maybe try this and see how that makes you feel. So we improve your quality of your coffee when you take it and how you and what you buffer it with. The other thing would be back to that sacred time, that first hour in the morning and that first hour at night. Well, you're thinking, I know some people are thinking, I don't have that much time. I got 3 kids, blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe we can start with 5, 10, 15 minutes. When are you going to make your health and your life a priority? Like, you are a gift from God. Like, doesn't that deserve some priority?
yeah.
And if you're not going to give it to you, why would you expect anybody else to value you? Are people treating you like crap? Are people walking all over you? Is there anybody in your life that's taking you for granted? Maybe it's because you're doing that to yourself and you have not set priorities and boundaries for yourself because you haven't valued yourself. Because if you said, God made me, I exist, I am an eternal being, I have the power of the universe inside of me, shut up and go make me some food. Okay.
Mhm.
That's not going to happen. You'd be like, excuse me? What? What did you say? I'm sorry, but I don't allow people to talk to me like that. So you can either
Yeah.
change your tone. I don't know what happened to you today. Did you run over your dog? Did somebody just slap you that you're so raged that you're coming at me? Because whatever you're bringing onto me, that's your baggage, and I'm not going to pick it up. Now, you can either talk to me in a decent manner and respect me because I am basically God and a version, I'm saying I'm an eternal
Right.
being.
You're a
I, I'm
child of
val
God. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
valuable. Nobody talks to me like that. Or you can exit stage left. Goodbye. Goodbye. People like that won't come into my life. This is where we have to get. And if everybody starts doing this, people
Hmm.
will start getting into shape. And not just physically, but people will start treating people better because that person over there that's yelling at you is talking from their head, not their heart.
Yeah.
And that's where you cannot get sucked into that rut. Now, when you go by the most difficult one, the one that's going to give you the most contrast, it's gonna is gonna be your parents.
Mhm.
That one's gonna require you to be completely conscious and focused and aware of your heart and not operating from your brain because they know you so well and a lot of times they don't listen. They're older than you. They raised you. What do you know? Even if you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, they're not going to listen to you or whatever. That's where you really have to come with your heart. Now, my mom, after a traumatic, situation, she opened up. She's like, let's roll. But my dad, he ain't going to change. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll change in the last hour of his life. I don't know. But he does the exact opposite of whatever I say just because.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that and understand. So instead of me getting all pissed off about it, I come from my heart. I'm like, wow, he's really got, and I found out why, because he's been, oh man, some tremendous abuse, emotional abuse through his childhood and his younger years, and even into his older years, because he carried that baggage around. It's other people's stuff he's been carrying around. So I guess my thing is like you're super valuable and somebody that's super valuable starts loving themselves and you set down everybody else's baggage and walk away from them because why would you want to pack their stuff? It's not even yours. You
That's
have your
right.
direct relationship with God. You don't need all these other people to be telling you what to do. You know what to do. You just haven't taken a moment to pause in your life, go stare at yourself in the mirror and get clear on who you are and how powerful you really are. And once you do that, I think your life is going to start changing immediately. And you're going to find an energy welling up inside of you before you even have your first glass of water, your first green juice. It's
There
like
you go.
it's instant energy.
Yep. Yeah, all good tips, Tim. Again, guys, we are embarking on a 3-month workshop here. We're meeting live twice a month, and all of the shows will be recorded so you can watch at your convenience. This series is called Returning to Source: How to Heal Everything and Live an Exciting Life. And I guarantee you the power and the energy in this community, when people get together and we talk and we heal, we don't just listen to, the people that come in and speak. We engage with one another. We are empathetic and understanding. And this is how community is created. This is what we need. We need a community of people that are willing and able to speak the truth, to walk and step in love, and to have the courage in order to do so. So thank you so much, Tim. It's not the last time you're going to be on the show. You're one of my favorite people to talk and one of my favorite educators. So thank you. And guys, until next time, this is Jody O'Malley signing off on Nurses Out Loud. We are live on air 5 days a week. All of our shows go to podcast. You can find us pretty much on every podcast network. Thank you so much for continually watching, sharing, liking our shows. We are rated in the top 1 to 5% of podcasts every single show. So thank you. If you want to reach out to us, it's nurses@americaoutloud.com. And until next time, guys, be safe, be well, and God bless.